And for takeaways and more on Tiger Woods and the Hero World Challenge after round one, we have our CBS Sports golf analysts Doug Bell and Kyle Porter. Guys, Tiger is 3 over after round one. Doug, we were talking about it off camera. Kind of hard to see him walk around. Tiger admitted earlier this week in a press conference that his game is a tad rusty. What were your biggest takeaways from what you saw from Tiger in round one?
Ring rust was on display, although I must admit I was excited after 11 holes when he was 1 under par. I said, oh my gosh, is he going to do something special for the first time in 7 months? But then reality set in. As you mentioned, took the double bogey at 15, the par 5 that was playing downwind. The easiest hole on the golf course today. Virtually everybody else was birdieing that hole. He takes the double after a wayward tee shot, drops a shot at 16, drops another one at 17. And it appeared to me at the time that he had simply run out of gas, not only physically, but he admitted in his post-run interview he was mentally fatigued. He was making bad decisions all day, and that comes from having not played over the last 7 months. So if you look at the numbers, 6 of 13 fairways, not great, 10 of 18 greens, 30 putts. It was just a below average day for Tiger. But I will say again, though, to wrap it up, it was great to see him back. Let's put it that way, and I can't wait to see what he does tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought Tiger's day was really interesting, actually. You know, he looked, and I think this is the kind of the lead in terms of news, he looked pretty physically fit throughout. This was not a great scene on 15, by the way, but I thought he looked good from a walking and swinging standpoint. I thought his swing looked pretty free. Obviously, he's not going to be pain-free at this point, but I just thought that throughout the day, he looked more physically fit than we've seen him over his last couple of comebacks. Jacqueline, I thought the iron play, excuse me, I thought the iron play, the approach play was very sloppy. He put himself in positions that he just couldn't allow himself to be in, and as a result, he kept making, we showed a scorecard, he kept making birdie, then bogey, and he just, I didn't think his iron play was very good. He saved himself with a putter. He hit a 20-footer, a 28-footer, a 48-footer, all for birdie, and that's why he was 1 under through, I believe he was 1 under through 14 before playing the last 4 and 4 over. So I thought the putter was good, the iron play was bad, and yeah, we'll see what he does in round 2 as he comes back on Friday.
Yeah, Tiger 3 over through round 1. KP, what do you think we see from him tomorrow realistically?
Yeah, I think something similar. You know, again, if he keeps it around even par, I think that's a good thing. You know, like Doug mentioned, there's going to be rust. Again, I thought he looked off the tee. I thought he was pretty good. He had a lot of speed. The longest drive in the field off the first tee, 326 yards. He was tied with Max Homa for the longest drive on that hole. So that was kind of a flex. He got himself into a little bit of trouble off the tee at times, but again, for me, it was just his iron play was not sharp, and this is it's not a super difficult golf course in terms of how wide open it is, but I will say when the wind is whipping and blowing like it was today, that can create some issues. And he talked about that afterwards and just said, I didn't really have a feel for kind of how I was trying to hold the ball up in the air, what I was trying to do with it. And so that'll come, I think, with time. So I would expect his iron play to get a little bit better on Friday, and it's going to need to, because you can't rely on those 28 and 48 footers to keep going to kind of buoy your scorecard.
And keep in mind now, he's headed to the physio trailer. That's what people forget. For a couple of hours of work with his team post-round. This is just to get ready for tomorrow. And then he'll get up bright and early in the morning and go to the gym and go through all this stretching exercises. I mean, it is amazing what he does to get ready for a round of golf. Nobody else could possibly do it. Mentally, the guy is just so incredibly tough. I do think he'll bounce back with a better round tomorrow. It's all dependent on the wind. Obviously, the wind in the Bahamas is a factor, but if the wind is down, kind of like it was today, I suspect Tiger will probably break par tomorrow, maybe 70, 71. I think he'll progressively get better as the week goes on.
And KP, you mentioned Tiger's comeback. We've seen him come back from injury several times, but just how difficult is a tournament like this when even if you're Tiger Woods, you have taken that time off. We haven't seen him play since the Masters in April. How much more difficult is a course like this when you're taking that much time off, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult just to get a feel. And again, he said this afterwards a little bit, just to get a feel for, oh yeah, I'm playing a tournament again. You know, that's just, and you hear guys talk about this all the time. That's such a different feeling than playing 18 holes by yourself or with your buddies or whatever. And I think that's the part where Tiger has so many inputs that he's taking in terms of the wind and his feel and what clubs he's hitting, what shot he's trying to hit. And I think it'll take a little bit of time to kind of adapt to all those different inputs to spit out the right output. And I think we saw a little bit of that in terms of the sloppiness and the rust on day one.
Guys, I want to talk about JT and Scotty. We were talking about JT a little bit earlier, and it was kind of up and down, but both of these guys have really bounced back. And Doug, what were your biggest takeaways? We'll start with Justin Thomas, because we were talking about he's coming off of a rough year, but really on the back nine, a pretty clean card.
Yeah, that was one of the side bets we talked about this morning, Jacqueline. Who's going to win in this matchup between JT and Tiger? And, of course, I picked Justin Thomas, and he suffers that triple bogey at number 4. And I said, oh, my gosh, this is going to be as bad as my college football picks this season, which have been really lousy. But things turned around. And, listen, over the last 10 holes, Justin Thomas was 5 under par. And this is a big week for Justin Thomas. This is his last go-round against the guys, right? In 2023, coming off his worst season on the PGA Tour. So I think if Justin Thomas somehow wins this event, it'll send him off into 2024 on a very high note. So believe me, Justin Thomas played more like the JT of old those last 10 holes. And I think that sets him up for what could be a very, very big week. I was impressed with Justin Thomas here in the opening round.
Yeah, and it was a lot of the same story with Scotty Scheffler. You know, bad early. He got off to a really slow start, made a couple bogeys. I believe he bogeyed 2 of his first 3 or 4 holes, made a bad bogey on the par 5 third hole that you see there. Another bogey on the par 5 6. So it wasn't a great first 6 holes for Scotty Scheffler, but he really got it together on the back 9. And this is what Scotty Scheffler does, Jacqueline. This is who he's been this year, which is always bouncing back, always bouncing back. I mean, his ball striking is just, it's been extraordinary. I tweeted out this stat the other day. He's been a full stroke better per round than the second best player in the world in terms of tee to green play. So if you talk about, you start at the tee and you got to get it to the green, Scotty Scheffler is a full stroke better per round than the second best guy, which has been Patrick Cantlay, who's obviously had a very good year. So he just ball strikes the heck out of it. And when you do that, you're going to give yourself opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And he obviously took advantage of a few of those today on the back 9 to kind of get back into contention on day 1 there.
Scotty is always a guy that is in the mix every single time we're talking about tournaments. But as of right now, we have 2 guys at the top of the leaderboard, Brian Harman and Tony Finau. They are tied for the lead. Doug, how impressed are you with these guys so far?
Well, I talked to Brian Harman a couple of weeks ago. He's the only guy in this tournament who played the RSM Classic, the last stop on the PGA Tour for 2023. Normally, he goes deer hunting after that tournament. He lives over there at Sea Island. But he was excited because this is the first time he's ever played in Tiger's tournament. And he was dead set on coming to the Bahamas and playing really well. It's been a career year, obviously, won the Open Championship. And Brian Harman wants to win this Hero World Challenge. There's a lot of money, a lot of world ranking points. He just wants to keep this ball rolling because he knows the window of opportunity for a professional golfer is short. And so he wants to take advantage. And today he played fabulous golf. His only bogey was at 18, hit a bad tee shot in the fairway bunker and had to kind of pop it out in the fairway. But all in all, Brian Harman, who's had a fabulous year, came in with the goal of maybe winning this thing, and he's put himself in a good spot. Tough to go wire to wire, but there's only 20 players. And I was, again, very impressed with a guy who's playing in Tiger's tournament for the first time ever.
I think what's so interesting about these 2 guys, Doug, is just how contrasting they are in terms of styles. Tony's one of the longest guys on tour, right-handed, just bombs it off the tee. Brian Harman, very small, left-handed, a lot shorter off the tee, gets it done with his short game. I think that is really interesting that you get such contrasting styles, and that would be a really interesting duel if they were to kind of get into it this weekend at Albany at this golf course. So I was impressed by both these guys. Obviously, Harmon's had the year of his life, winning the Open Championship, making the Ryder Cup team. Finau's had a little bit more of a disappointing year after he won in Mexico back in, I believe that was the end of April, beginning of May at the Mexico Open. I would have thought for sure he would be on the U.S. Ryder Cup team, but he had a bad summer. Kind of fell off. This is a really good, I think, opportunity for him to kind of kickstart his 2024 and potentially get back into contention at some of those major championships like we've seen in the past.
KP, Doug Bell joining us here on HQ for a round one recap of the Hero World Challenge. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. Good stuff as always. And you're getting a look at the leaderboard from the Bahamas after round one. Brian Harman and Tony Finau tied for first place there after round one of the Hero World Challenge. Some other big names on the board: Jordan Spieth, Cameron Young, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Max Homa also in the mix there. Round one completed there at the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. And you can also hear KP on the First Cut podcast alongside Rick Gaiman. They're always talking everything happening in the world of golf. You can download and listen, follow wherever you get your podcasts.